Yeah. You have a driver that might be right now one of the most consistent road course drivers, and he's sitting there in worst place. But he wins, he's in.
That's where it's intriguing because Kyle could easily win this race.
Yes.
And then if he does, the one thing to watch is Walls isn't great on road
No, he's
courses.
terrible.
Chastain's not either. So they got to get stage points. But Reddick, compared to Keselowski, Reddick should move his way in.
Reddick,
The
Chastain,
thing
and
that's
Kyle.
the thing that's interesting is if Kyle wins, it doesn't matter what Reddick or Keselowski do. They're both out. However, that's where you still go back to Truex and Larson. If they have an issue and they skate down and Reddick can get ahead of both of them, then one of them might be out if Kyle wins the race. So that's why I mentioned stage point. It's far from over. Those guys, even though they're on the cut line, there's only 2 points between those two. You really don't want to be 7th and 8th. If you're in the top 6, naturally you're in. But if you're 7th or 8th, you're battling one of those spots on points. The other one, Bubba could shock the world or Chastain and win, but they win, they're automatically in. So it puts it in an interesting spot with stage cautions. A lot of people may not remember those are coming back this week. So you could pit in theory before the stage and have track position for the next stage and position yourself for that, especially for the final stage with, hey, you got to have track position to go for the win. But if you go for stage points, you're not going to have track position anymore.
That's right.
And you may not win the race. However, do you punt points away when you're that close of a battle? I mean, that's where it's intriguing is who's going to take the points and who doesn't. I feel like Hamlin's 50 points up. He could go for the win. He needs more playoff points that he can get. Byron's going to go for the win. Blaney's going to go for the win. They don't need stage points.
By the way, what do you get if you're Blaney or Byron? What's the advantage of winning?
They're already into the next round. Doesn't matter what they do.
So, do they get any sort of bonus points that help in the next round at all? Or I mean, what's
the
deal?
So a win will get you those 5 playoff points.
So you get 5 points.
Yeah, which Blaney could use the 5 playoff points to really help because the points reset next round. So that gets you 5 more points closer at the start. So that's why those guys are just gonna, hey, we don't need points. Let's just go ahead and get let's position ourselves for a race win. So
Blaney, the stage points mean nothing.
Means absolutely nothing to him.
Only to win.
His points are getting reset next round anyways, just like Byron's.
Okay.
Yep, just the win. And I think Hamlin's kind of in that. He's plus 50. There's literally 0 cents for him. Why not just go after, unless he can win a stage and get a playoff point, but just pit early, go for the win. Where I should say in the races prior to this, the road courses, you didn't have that. We didn't stop for stage breaks. And as a result of that, and if you look at the eventual winners of the race for qualifying, let me go to the actual starting spots. There we go. 2nd, 8th, 3rd, 1st, 2nd. So like we talked about for Watkins Glen, the faster cars were winning. Last year, it wasn't that case. In stage 2 this year, if you look at where they've finished the stage, because remember, they weren't pitting. They were just staying out. 1st, 7th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Last year, 8th, 4th, 10th, no points. 8th, no points. So they were pitting before the stage more than likely. So it's changed the way you run this race. It's going to completely change how the strategy again. So the reason they did it is because we had 2 total cautions at Indy and Watkins Glen. So they felt, let's go ahead and add 2 more cautions to the equation to make them pit. But it's not guaranteed to work. The first 103 laps last year's race, the only 2 cautions were for stage breaks too. So I just feel like it penalizes the faster cars is what this is really doing here.
Well, let's continue your talk on this track and how this is going to all break down as our preview. We'll get back to a few other things a little bit later on. And you take a look at, well, first question regarding the Roval. You mentioned, okay, so we're going to have stages. Are there any other changes regarding the track from last year to this year?
The only other one is the restart zone. Remember in the past, they would use oval turn 4 to give them more space to start over there. This year, they're going to start in that infield section, right? Kind of have the left-hand turn and then right and then back left onto that little mini dog leg they're going to run if they go in turn 1 on the road course. So they're going to use that to try to spread them out, kind of like Indy did, where they restarted in the final turn to kind of get to get the cars to spread out. They're going to do that for this weekend. They're going to go ahead and restart to hopefully get these cars spread out before going into turn 1, so you don't have 20 cars dive bombing each other and causing chaos. So hopefully that helps a little bit, but that and adding stage cautions back are the only 2 major changes we're going to see.
Okay, but there's still going to be chances for carnage. So
yeah, because instead of, I mean, in theory, if you drop the green flag and hey, we're not stopping for stages, you could have another clean race, just like we saw at Indy and Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're wanting to do. But as I said, last year, the only 2 cautions until 7 to go were for stage breaks. Then we had a debris caution that caused that chaos in the end, where Christopher Bell took tires. He gave up track position, took 4 tires, and it got him the win. That's the only strategy play that really was in the card. So does this weekend, do we see that? I don't know. It depends on what we see with but I also don't like, because it goes to show you're manufacturing a finish. You're basically saying, hey, the faster cars, we got to manufacture this. And I looked last year, 5 of the 6 road course races, the only laps the eventual winner won were in the final stage. They didn't lead in 5 of the 6 road course races. They didn't lead a single lap in the first 2 stages. This year, we've run 5 road course. This will be the 6th. 4 of the 5 were won by drivers that led the most laps. So it was benefiting the guys to lead early. They had the faster cars, like we talked about at Indy and Watkins Glen. It was rewarding the best cars again. That's why it was easy to pick the guys we picked. Now it's like you're kind of penalizing them. If you have a fast car, you're running up front, but you might pit before the stage ends to get your track position in the end. Or if you're a guy, Keselowski, Reddick, those guys, hey, I need points. I might as well stay out and take the points because I'm thinking bigger picture than winning this race. It's like, so you're taking a fast car out of thinking they can win the race to go for stage points. So it's a gimmick. It just feels gimmicky.
Well, this is probably it anyway for the Roval. So
yeah.
We'll see how that goes. And maybe that's part of it too, is that, the less road course races, the less we have to be dealing with this gimmicky way of, because if we do next year and we have no stage breaks again and we have dominating races, well, there's only a couple of them, so maybe they could deal with it a lot easier than having, say, 5 of them. That could be unwatchable to some people.
Yeah.
If there's dominating drivers. All right. So you mentioned last year, because that's important, of course. And the only time we've seen the new car with the Roval, the combination. And you mentioned Bell. So this is what was really crazy. Bell qualified 8th, was 14th in practice, and had no stage points.
There you go.
And was 11th with 3 laps to go on a road course, and found a way to win. He led only 2 laps on the day, but like you said, he had the fresher tires. What the drama was, though, also, as we recall, with 11 to go, with 3 to go, and in 11th place, he was 41 points out of the playoff spot at that time. And that's
why I was a Hail Mary. Yep.
He went from 41 points out of the playoffs in the final round of that playoff season to winning the race and moving on to the next round.
As the Hail Mary call for tires. So that's where it's almost like that's what NASCAR wants by having these stage breaks and having a potential for that. They want that, but that's again where I say it seems manufactured. He said he was 41 points. He didn't have a chance to win that race until those final cautions. So
never won it.
Nope. And this year you kind of don't need it because the points are going to take care of itself. It's so close. Last year he was like 19 points entering out, and now you got these guys so close.
They're just trying to break it up. Yep. That's it. That's not. They don't care about this. They don't care about the stage points. So
no.
All right. So there you go. So, and that's maybe that's part of the reason that he's 18-1, because if he's 8-1, like I think he should be, or 10-1, I'm not sure I take him. Maybe I do put a little bit on him, and we'll get to him. But yeah, I mean, I was 18-1. Can't not take him.
That's the only reason I took him. Same way. I originally skipped over him. I'm like, yeah, well, that's a pretty good number for a guy that. Look at my reason to get to him, but yeah, 18-1. Like I'm gonna have to take him.
Yeah, so you only had 5 picks this week. Again, going with the strategy, and it worked again last week because you were able to. I think you gained over 600. So you're like one big win away this week from almost breaking even. After and
I think I
gotta
gained.
Imagine, not that you'll do it like this the last couple of weeks, but I get the feeling you're going to start taking my point of view in wagering races on a weekly basis next year. A little bit more money on the top guys, and not worry so much about just trying to win a race.
No, exactly. That's because I used to just go like, let me just get a buck, but now it's like, if I lose $100 overseas but gain later, because you could really start narrowing these things. We've got more of a sample size now, and that's what I'm using. And plus, if you look at like this weekend, every race since 2014. Granted, this race was, I'm going to say 2018. 2014 is when this playoff format was the winning you're in type thing started. 2018 was the first year that we ran this race, the Roval, under that. They've all been won by playoff drivers. We've not seen a non-playoff driver win this race. Just like Talladega, how I said last week, all but one since 2014 were won by a playoff driver. And last weekend, and it's coincidentally enough, it seems to be the playoff driver below the cut line entering that race, and they always seem to win, and that's also why I invested heavily on Blaney, and it paid off. So then I look at this week, I just took 12 playoff drivers. Let me look at this week based off the 12 playoff drivers, and I can narrow. I can exit Bubba and those type. I'm like, he's probably not going to win. Chastain's not going to win. I don't see Blaney winning a road course this year. I could get him out. Buscher's only led like one lap on the road course this year. So you start narrowing it down. Like, I came up with those 5. And like, all right, this is what we'll roll with. And granted, I counted Chase Elliott as a playoff because he is. He's 20 points up in the owner's standing. So, which kind of makes it a little more interesting if he goes for points or the win. But yeah, you still have that as well.
Yeah, here are this just shows you the strategy difference. So this is our records, our picks records. This is before last week. So CJ 19. I only had 13 wins. And you can see the difference. I was in the plus going into last week and continue to be that way, of course, after Blaney's win. And CJ, like 300 points behind me. And he won 6 more races than I did. So I
think this past week I won over 600. He won what, 100? If that, I can't remember what exactly. It's in that post.
Let's see. When he picked Blaney, he was basically
$36,
$50, maybe $60. I can't remember.
36 right there. Out of the 300, he won 3.
Yeah, so you minus the 272 and the 336, and you get whatever it was he got.
Yeah,
$50 or something. So, yeah, that's it. And that's what he normally gets on a weekly basis when he wins. He usually just gets about 50 or 100. By the way, speaking of CJ, he had some interesting words when we were doing our fantasy and we were going – futures.
Futures, yeah.
And I basically put in the text, in the whatever column about what the email was about. I talked about, I just referenced, you snooze, you lose on Ryan Blaney and his 30-1 odds because it dropped to 5-1.
Well, way less than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't know what it was, but yeah, I did not anticipate 5-1. So here are the odds right now. So there you go. You got Byron at 3, Hamlin at 3. Larson still 4, so no changes there. But all of a sudden, Ryan Blaney from 30-1 to 5-1, and that's what we said last week. in the last couple of weeks, if you haven't wagered on any of these guys, you gotta invest on a guy like Blaney, because if he wins, that number is gonna drop tremendously, and that's exactly what happened. And so anyway, I mentioned this, and I guess CJ thought maybe I was talking about him, which I wasn't. I was just talking in generalities, and because he didn't pick him, and he hasn't been picking him. Matter of fact, I
No.
think he only has, let's see, he only has 70. So he's like in the hole if Blaney wins. And now it's too late for him. So
Yeah, it's hard to make up that ground.
And he said, yeah. So his response was, win a plate race and think you can win 2 more times in 4 races. Blaney is good, but he hasn't shown me 5-1 yet this season. And I kind of agreed with CJ at 5-1. That was my whole point. Is that all right? 5-1. Yeah, I'm not saying that that's something that I'd want to be looking at closely myself at this point in the season. But at 30-1, he was.
Oh yeah.
And let's just talk about a couple of the winners recently. Logano came into Phoenix last year with 1 playoff win, just 1. And Elliott went on that little bit of a roll, which, for instance, let's say if Blaney was to win a next round race, which is what CJ is saying, win that race and then win Phoenix, that's a big ask for somebody that doesn't do that. But it's just hard to do anyway, especially for a driver like Blaney. But I've said it before, and I've been saying it for years. I think Ryan Blaney is just as talented as Chase Elliott. The big difference in my mind is Elliott has better, I think he's better team, better foundation. Yeah. And that's just been helping him out. And Blaney doesn't have that, even though his team is a lot better this year than last year. He hasn't been getting killed by his team this year.
Yeah. And you got to look at the tracks too. He's pretty good at Vegas.
Yes.
Solid at Homestead. He can win Martinsville. He's always good at Martinsville. So if he gets a win, I think he can, then that puts him in the championship 4. And we've talked about this over and over. If you're in the championship 4, they're going to run 1, 2, 3, 4 at Phoenix. They always do.
Yeah.
Blaney finished second last year at Phoenix. Blaney finished second this year at Phoenix. And the same equipment that Ford has been kind of a detriment on certain tracks this season, Logano won with a Ford at Phoenix last year. Why can't Blaney do the exact same thing on the track he's good at Phoenix this year? That's why I thought, hey, this guy, all it takes, yes. Is it asking a lot for him to win 2 more races? Yeah, but he can do it. I think that would be his kind of breakout moment. He's due. He's shown that. That's why I said that Talladega move. He's shown he can do it. So,
well, that's why I referenced Elliott because, I think he can do what Elliott did, and that's step up and become a championship driver. Elliott was not a championship driver at that point. Everybody knew how talented he was. Everybody knew he could do it, but he hadn't done it yet, and he went out and did it. That's what Blaney, I believe in him, I think he can do it. And let's also remember, he doesn't have to win before Phoenix. As long as he's consistent in the next 3 races, a couple of the drivers don't fare too well, he could get to Phoenix without another win.
Yep. So. Yeah. He's got to be rooting for Truex to not advance out of this round to get that big playoff points guy out of there. Because he starts off the next round, Truex can go right back to 36 playoff points. He's going to fall back on that again.
Yeah.
And plus, you got to look at since 1990, I think it's the last time somebody swept Phoenix. That doesn't bode well for Byron. They go ahead and sweep Phoenix this year. So somebody's got to win it. Hamlin, by the numbers, he's never won the playoff race there or the championship race. If Blaney gets there, the trends are just keep piling up on his side. Plus, this is the fifth time in 8 years he's been to the round of 8. He's already knows he's going to be. That's 5 out of 8. That's pretty good.
Yep.
He's learned. You got to think he's learned a lot of the first 4 years of what to do, or what not to do too. So I'm high on him right now. That's why Vegas knows something. They took him from 30 to 5-1 for a reason. They don't do that for no reason.
So again, if you were not able to get him earlier, unfortunately, it's now too late. You could still parlay him. So keep that in mind if you like football between now and you got the next few weeks, because his odds aren't going to drop much more than that. Matter of fact, his odds might go up a little bit. if he doesn't do anything this week, and first round of the next round, first race of the next round. So you might be able to get 6-1, 7-1. But you got a few weeks if you want to go ahead and parlay them. You could do that. Go ahead and use your third of 3 in a parlay with Blaney. And you throw in 10 or 15 in a parlay, that'll get you a few $100 right there. And you don't have to worry about the 5 and having to put up $100 to make 500 or something like that. All right. So out of the 5 picks that you have this week, so we mentioned Bell. So give me another driver or two that you think we picked.
Reddick.
Yes.
And Kyle Busch.
CJ did not take Kyle.
That's great. I'm surprised. 16-1 was a bargain, I thought, for him. Then that's got to be Elliott or Byron. I'm gonna say Byron.
No,
Is it Elliott?
I went back on my word. I put money on Elliott.
You went on Elliott? You're back on Elliott again?
Yeah. I was like, well, okay. I think this is it. I think he's got one shot now to win before the season ends. A legitimate shot. And he's now he's also been showing some consistency.
Yeah.
So, and he's not like he's just going through the motions. And we know how good he is, of course. And so you mentioned Byron and Elliott, and I think, look, now I don't know. I admit I'm a little surprised that only a little bit that you went with Byron, and I say only a little bit because I could see that the other options out there, aren't like, well, I have to have this guy or I have to have that guy. So I don't think it's not like I think that you dropped the ball on taking Byron instead of. But Byron, I mean, he'd have to win another road course race. I still don't look at Byron as that much of a road course driver. He's okay. So let's see, over his career, what does he have? He has, his best track is definitely Watkins Glen with the win.
Yep.
But he has led laps at Roval. And that shows that there's something there, maybe even compared to the other tracks. Matter of fact, he's led more laps at Roval than any other road course.
Yeah, and I went with him because he's shown improvement on road courses this year. And he's 6-1. I thought, it's not the best, but he's got the most points scored of road courses of anybody on the season. 154 is the most. He's led 94 laps on road courses this year. So I thought, that's pretty good. Plus, with going what I said earlier about he's not going to take stage points. He's going for the win.
That's it.
So I feel with so many guys probably going to go with a stage point route, why not take the guy that's had a fast car, 94 laps led, had a reliable car, most points scored on road courses, knows he can win. He's coming off of finishes of first and second. He's probably going to have track position at the end. This is his home track. It's going to be tough to pass him if he's up front at the end. So that's why I went for 6-1. I'm like, that's about right for probably where he should be. And if I'm going to take Elliott, I might as well take him because this guy, Elliott's probably going for points. Byron's not. So I'm at least kind of hedging in a way that Hendrick should have a good package here. We know they've been good on back faster again, I guess I should say, on road courses. So that's why I went his direction.
Yeah, Elliott, not that we have to go over his whole career because we know how good he is on road courses. But even just recently, 5th at Sonoma, 2nd at Indy. Last year, he led the most laps, 30. And he got dumped by Reddick with 3 to go when he was in second place. So he might have won the race last year. And by the way, this is also what I'm talking about when I'm saying, okay, yeah, they're going to take the starting position out, and that's going to be one way to eliminate some of the carnage, but you're still going to see it. That starting position, it's just not going to eliminate all the other potential incidents, especially when you're talking about a race that will define whether drivers get to the next round or not. Yep. So, anyway, Reddick dumped him. And otherwise, again, Elliott could have won the race. And he's got 6 top 10s in his last 8 on the season with 2 top 5s and the runner-up at Indy. So, yeah, I figured, all right, if I am going to take him, this is a good spot.
Yeah, you remember he's 5th in Sonoma, 3rd on the Chicago Street Race. And the only reason he was 32nd Watkins Glen is I think he had that mechanical failure kind of before the midway point. So teammates Byron's got a good road course car this year. So, yeah, it just seems kind of like it's all adding up where Blaney added up for a win last year for Elliott. And I know I said, well, people, again, well, he's not a playoff driver. What happened to that stat? Well, he kind of is. He's in the owner's race. He's got a lot to run for.
Yeah.
And he's mentioned, like, hey, you know what? This actually was kind of feels similar running for the owner's race and the driver's championship. The only thing, my only concern, he's only led 8 laps on road courses this year. So that concerns me a little bit. And 2, he does lead the cut line in the owner's race by 20 points. He may elect to go for points. That's the one thing that scares me is if he goes for points, he's going to be playing from behind in the final stage. But Elliott has proven, was a few years ago, remember he went into turn 1 tire barriers there, and he still came back and won the race. So maybe he can come from behind. But, yeah, he 6-1, it just feels right. It feels like he's starting to come back around again.
All right. And then Reddick, he was the one that we all really jumped all over. I put 100 on Reddick. And I just think this is a perfect opportunity, wagering opportunity, because he's sitting there outside the playoffs. Now, chances are, as good as he is on these types of racetracks, as long as nothing happens to the car, stays out of trouble, he's going to end up in the playoffs. I don't think, even if he doesn't win, I think we'd all be shocked if Reddick doesn't find his way into the next round. But still, I just think that as good as he is on the road courses, he won COTA this year, 4th at Indy, and 8th here last year, led 21 laps. I just got a feeling that, he's especially also at 7-1. You know, we've talked a lot about these road course drivers, and we get into these road course races, and it's 3-1, and it's 4-1, and you can't make any money with these guys. And yeah, there's only a few like Reddick and Elliott and so forth that are really, really good. But wow, I mean, we're getting Reddick at 7-1 in a must kind of win race scenario. Absolutely, I'm going to go all in. And this is one of those races that I would definitely recommend people in general that don't normally go all in. This is what you want, because you also, again, I know he probably will get in without the win, but I don't really know if I see that as the philosophy. I just got the feeling that their philosophy is let's win and get in.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the last 2 Rovals, 2nd and 8th. I mean, he's been up front. He's got the 4th most road course points scored this year across the board on all the road courses. Michael Jordan, will be there. Michael Jordan, Charlotte area, Charlotte track. I mean, just it all lines up for a Reddick win. It just does. And granted, there's only 2-point gap between him and Keselowski, and Keselowski fade him out of his last 20 road course starts. 18 of them, he's finished 13th or worse.
Yeah.
And he's got the 22nd most road course points scored this year at 69. That's it. Reddick has 133. So you got to think that final playoff spot between those two, Reddick could get in that way. But he's also got to be looking over his shoulder at Kyle Busch, because he drove that car last year, and he knows Kyle Busch could easily win this race. So that's where goes to your point. He probably should just go out and win and keep Kyle from winning and assure himself in too. So it's a bargain at 7-1 for Reddick.
Yes.
Yep.
Because he's got Larson and Truex ahead of him, accomplished road course drivers. So go out there and win and take care of the rest. Okay. So then you have moving on, you have McDowell and Larson at 9-1, and only one person took either of those drivers. That was CJ. He took Larson. Now McDowell win at Indy, excellent. We know he's now becoming a better road course driver compared to the rest of the field. I get it. I don't know though. 9-1. I just think that's I want to maybe a little bit more for McDowell than 9-1, but it's not a bad pick. I'm not saying it would be. Again, you're getting 9-1. It's not bad. Larson though, I just don't want anything to do with Larson in this particular race, and which is kind of strange. But if you look at it, Obviously he's had success before. He has 4 road course wins. He won the Roval before, but new car last year, he was bad.
Oh
He
yeah.
did nothing in this race and got eliminated in this race
Yep.
by Chase Briscoe, finishing 35th. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have some info to go on and why, because you didn't take him. I mean,
Nope.
you could have taken Larson at 9-1 instead of Byron at 6-1, especially with Larson needing the win a lot more than Byron. So why didn't you take Larson?
I feel like he won his road course, as you said, has gone down. He doesn't have that advantage anymore at this next gen. And 26 last year, he's only got the 10th. Not only he's got the 10th most points on road courses this year. It tells you there's 9 more better drivers. And where he is in the points, I feel like he's going for stage points. I feel like that's their easiest path. Just get points, because right now where you sit, you don't have to worry about somebody else new winning as long as you stay there. So if you get enough points, then it's not you're 13 clear of Keselowski. Just as I just mentioned, Keselowski struggles in these tracks.
Oh yeah.
Gobble up a bunch of stage points and just know, hey, it doesn't matter if Kyle Busch or Ross Chastain or Bubba Wallace or Reddick win, because only one person can come out, and it's not going to be me. So I feel like just for him, gobble up stage points, and he hasn't fared that well on road courses. So yeah, 9-1. I thought there was no shot I was taking him at 9-1. That just, and if you look at his finishes, other than his win in 2021, then he only led 8 laps, 25th, 13th, 35th. So he just hasn't been. This hasn't been a great track for him. And Indy road course also hasn't been a great track for him. That was kind of like this track. So these just don't suit him well. So I thought pretty easy to fade him here.
All right. And then at 10-1, we got AJ. 12-1, we got Truex. And CJ and I put money on AJ. You stayed away from AJ. CJ put money on Truex. We both stayed away from Truex. For me, I got Truex at whatever it was, 35-1. When he won, what race did he win this year?
Sonoma.
Sonoma.
Yep, Sonoma.
And ever since, his odds have been back down. Now, you get the one thing I must say that I did consider was, all right, well, it's 12-1. It's not too bad. It's not 6-1 or 12-1. That was the only reason I was actually thinking maybe about Truex, but sort of like what you were saying with Larson, that's how I was feeling with Truex. Is he doesn't have to win. Why put yourself through that? But it's also if you look at it, I mean, they've done nothing in the playoffs.
No.
0, no top 10s. So
I was shocked CJ took. There's not 12-1. I mean, he's led 51 laps this year on road courses.
Well, that's what I'm
all
saying.
at Sonoma.
All
at Sonoma. Yeah,
and
he hasn't led anywhere else.
The odds just dropped on Truex.
Yep, he's not led a lap anywhere else. And you look at last year road course finishes. This is for him on the road courses last year. 7th, 26th, 13th, 21st, 23rd, 17th. And then you look at this year. He's not done anything. And you look at where he's finished in the playoffs, 18th, 36th, 19th, 17th, 18th, no laps led. And if you go back to the regular season finale at Daytona, 18th. I mean, he's not leading laps. He's not running up front. Plus 1,200 was an absolute no. I mean, he probably should be 30-1 as he would have been. Then I might have contemplated it, but I still probably wouldn't have, because I just don't think he's going to win this weekend.
It's a big switch.
It is. And Allmendinger, I had him originally, but I went back to that's why I keep mentioning playoff drivers win this race, or Allmendinger would. I mean, he's 4-0. He's undefeated in the Xfinity Series there. He was 4th in this race last year. He was 4th at Watkins Glen, the last road course race. So he's a solid play, but it's just playoffs. He's not in it. So that's the only reason I faded him. But Truex and Larson, no way. They're going for points this year.
Yeah,
this weekend.
I took AJ. I put some money on AJ. 4th in this race last year, led 24 laps. That was a strong effort. We know he's good on the road courses. So, I threw a few bucks on him basically to get my money back. And let's also keep in mind with Truex that on this particular Roval, he's only had 2 top 10s and led 6 laps. Yep. So, if this was one of those really good, historically good tracks for Truex, that'd be different. He hasn't shown anything in the Roval. All right, now we go to 16-1 Kyle Busch. To me, this was a no-brainer. Matter of fact, I've already made just 2 bets on NASCAR this week. Reddick and Kyle Busch.
There you go.
Because Kyle was, I believe, 18-1 on Bovada. And I don't want that's going to go down, I think. And obviously, Reddick's 8-1 on Bovada. So I get a little bit better on both. And I was like,
yep,
I'm jumping on them all now, put my money down on both of them. And yes, I mean, this would be a Kyle Busch thing to do. And it happened last year with Bell, got in and won. And why can't Kyle Busch do it? He's having a very good year this year in general on the road courses. We know what happened last year, different year. And he knows this is it. Win or you're going to go home. So absolutely. I mean, if Kyle Busch was 7-1 or 8-1, pass. But I'm getting 16-1 on Kyle Busch, who needs to win to move on.
This might be the play of the week. I mean, because you can't mention, oh, well, he hasn't fared well running in this weekend. Neither did Blaney. Blaney won Talladega. Kyle is just good at this track, too. I mean, you look at his last two finishes. They were 4th and 3rd. So he knows how to be good there. Tyler Reddick, in that same car, as we just said, his stats, was 2nd and 8th. So it's right. So he knows he's going to hop into a car and nothing's going to change. And then you look at, he's got 3 top 5 finishes in the road courses this season. Runner-ups in a couple of them. 36th at Indy, but he had an electrical or he had a transmission issue. Something about he was running top 5.
Indy. That's
no, and he was running in the top 5.
Yeah,
he was in the top 5 for the mechanical failure. He's got the 6th most points on road courses scored this season too. So his path is clear. Stage points aren't going to do him much of anything. He's another one that I feel like just swing for the fence and go for the win. You're not running good enough to say that you're not running good enough to advance on points anyways. Just go win. Just get yourself into the next round. And for 16-1, yeah, definitely going to go that route.
All right, 18-1, you got Bell, Hamlin, and Suarez. And again, we all took Bell. CJ took Hamlin. I took Suarez. So interesting that CJ did not take Suarez, even though he made a fantasy move this week to take Suarez and to kick Ryan Preece off his team finally. I think he's hedging his bet there. I think he's going, all right, well, if he wins and I didn't take him, I'm going to get it on my fantasy team. So that's what I'm thinking his strategy is. And it's not a bad move. But anyway, yeah, Bell is the one that we all agreed upon. We know he's a good road course driver. He's been good at this track. Obviously, the win kind of stole it late, but whatever. Really good at Watkins Glen. As a matter of fact, if let's also remember that third place finish at Watkins Glen broke that long drought of top 5s this year. It kind of got him going again. And so now he's in a good position, 3rd all in points. So yeah, I mean, I was just very surprised to see him at 18-1. I thought he was going to be 8-1 or something.
I was too, and he's got the 8th most road course points for the season. So out of everybody, he scored the 8th most points. He's only 7 points shy of 5th. So he's right there. And for him to be those odds, he won the race last year, and I think they forget he won the Daytona Roval in 2021. So he's good on Rovals. At Indy, he was just 9th, just a couple months ago. So you just get the feeling that he's another one that's starting to break out. He's getting back to what he was. I mean, he's got 5 top 10s in his last 8. He's 8th, 3rd, 4th, and 14th at Talladega. I thought was good for him in a Toyota. So, yeah, he's definitely one you're definitely going to want to play for those odds right now.
And Hamlin, I don't know. I mean, he's so comfortably in at this point. I guess if he has a fast car, go out and win it. But it's not like he's some great road course driver anyway. He's just he's shown you I don't know how many times that he can go out there and win a pole, and it doesn't mean anything. He's usually out by stage 2. Look, he can win a race on a road course. He's got the capability, but he's just not one of the top drivers on road courses. And I don't know why he's the same odds as Christopher Bell. That's for sure.
I don't either, because Hamlin's only got 2 top 5s with the next gen on a road course. That's it. He's barely led any laps. And then you look at points, road course points this year, 12th. He's got 112 of them. So he's behind Bell in almost every. I have no reason why he's the same odds, but yeah, I would definitely punt on him. And Suarez was a little I don't know why he was plus 18 when he was 36 last year, 27th, 22nd, 27th, third, and 22nd on road courses this year. I thought that was a little odd that he was grouped with that same bunch. I thought he probably should have been more 30, 35 than one. So I'm
Yeah,
not sure what they were looking at there.
yeah. I'm not happy about um, having to put money on Suarez at 18, but and especially since he's not a playoff driver.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
those are. But there were I made about, let's see, between Suarez, I'd say I probably made about 5 driver picks this week, solely because I understand there could be carnage again.
Yep.
And I have to put in some drivers that have had some experience on either winning on road courses or just being pretty good at times on road courses, that if something happens and we have carnage, I want some guys. I want some guy, and I can have the luxury of doing that because I'm up at my points. So I have a little bit where I can go, all right, you know what's, I don't need to worry about, instead of trying to win so and so on 2 drivers, let me use some of that money. Let's bring that money down on some of those top drivers and use it just in case there is carnage. And
Yeah.
Suarez fits that category. So Gibbs is 20-1. CJ took Gibbs. Oh, by the way, just wanted to remind too with Suarez, he was 3rd at Indy, and in his last 2 starts, 10th and 8th. So that's a good combo. Gibbs, meanwhile, 5th at Watkins Glen this year. I think that's all he's got to show for the road courses. Not sure why he's just 20-1, right next to say Bell or even Suarez to that matter. But CJ likes Gibbs, so he's taking him a whole bunch. He has him on his fantasy team. Yeah, but I don't know. Did you see anything with Gibbs?
No, I mean he's got the 7th most road course points scored, so that's probably why they got him at 20-1. But I don't foresee a guy getting his first career Cup win in a playoff race with a race that has only seen playoff drivers win. It doesn't add up for this being that kind of race for him. So especially he was 22nd last year, 21st and 2nd in the 2 Xfinity races. So 2 of his 3 races there he's finished 21st or worse if you combine the Xfinity. So yeah, I don't see anything for 20-1 out of him.
Buescher is 22-1. CJ and I put money on Buescher. This was another one, just like with Suarez, and I felt even better because I'm getting a little bit better odds at 22-1. Buescher is, he was 6th last year in this race. He's got a couple of top 10s on road courses this year. So I'm okay with having Buescher as one of those drivers that if something happens, that maybe he could take advantage of it. Other than that, he's just been, as far as his career, obviously a lot's happened lately, as we know, compared to early on in his career. But he's been okay. He hasn't been terrible on road courses. He's had his moments.
Yeah, he's a top. If you could get him for a top 5 play, he'd be a great top 5 play. Because I agree, I think he's in that realm where he's going to go more than likely stage points. He could use stage points to get by because he's in a good position to get to the round of 8. His last 5 road course finishes last year were 2nd, 6th, 10th, 9th, 6th.
Yeah.
This year he's been 8th, 4th, 10th, 11th, 7th. He's got the 5th most road course points at 128, so he's there. He's only led 1 lap. Fords, we know, road courses are not their forte this year, so I think he'll do enough to get by, and that's all he needs to do. So that's where the 22-1 for taking him to be. Hey, if carnage happens, yeah, I think he'll be there. He'll be in the top 10. Is he going to beat those guys we talked about before head to head without it? No. So that's why I avoided him. But it's not a bad play for 22-1. Or if you can get something for top 10, top 5, play.
He should be a good fantasy pick. Yeah,
for sure.
For someone that's not a big name on these road courses. CJ only had one other pick, and that was Cindric. And then I threw money. Again, these are my carnage picks. Chastain, Harvick, Bowman, Cindric, and Haley. So we take a look at those, just at those specific ones. Chastain was top 10 last year in this race. And then he hit the wall. I'm not sure what happened. And then his day was done. This year on the road courses, Coda finished 4th, but that's his best track for road courses in general, and we're not there. So that's the one thing, when we're talking about Chastain at this particular track, no top 10s and just 3 laps led. So I'm just same thing. We know he likes the drama. So if there's drama, I have to have him in there. Harvick, all right, if he's going to win one more time, he was second in this race last year. So if it wasn't for the stealing the race with the tires, Harvick wins this race last year over Bell, but not good on the road courses this year. Kevin Harvick, no top 10s. Bowman is interesting at 35-1, and Cindric. Cindric, as we know, is a good road course driver. Fifth, coming off a 5th last week. Matter of fact, he was top 10 late in this race last year, got dumped with a couple laps to go. He was also a playoff driver, I believe, that got knocked out in this race. So, Bowman, though, if we look at it, 3rd at Coda this year, 5th at Indy this year, and he's very good at Coda and the Roval. He's been at the Roval 4 times. He has 4 top 10s.
Yeah, because he didn't run last year's race. Yeah, he was gonna be, if I had a sleeper, Bowman was gonna play 35-1, Hendrick Carr. We know what Chase and Larson have combined with 3 of the last 4 there. So yeah, he's a strong play. The only thing that makes me a little worried is he's never led a lap. Look, if I can spit that out, he hasn't led a lap on a road course this season, but he's been up front at the Roval, and if chaos happens, I don't think he's going to get any beef with anybody being a non-playoff driver. He could skate through and get a win. So 35-1, he's a good kind of insurance policy to have sitting there.
And in Haley, my last one, 5th in this race last year, and he was strong the whole day. So it wasn't a fluky 5th. That was a strong 5th. We know he was 2nd at Chicago. We all know what happened there. And of course, it's a street race. And coming off a 6th last week. So that kind of all combined led me to say, hey, he's 80-1. I'll throw a couple of bucks on him.
And he's Allmendinger's teammate, so he's got some good notes of that track to go off of. So,
were there any other drivers that you were considering in that in the back?
No, just Bowman. Bowman be the only other one.
Okay.
Just with the odds of the playoff race, the playoff drivers winning, and I went playoff heavy again. So we'll see if we get and plus the playoff drivers are undefeated this postseason.
Undefeated. We talked about how early when we got started in the playoffs that there are some, you're going to get 1 or 2 that are on playoff drive. Well, not this year. It's all playoff drivers. So that's a trend that is going to, hey, you know what? The longer it goes, the longer it becomes a very important handicapping tool as far as.
Because if it happens again, then we're down to 8 drivers next week. So you got 8 to decipher at that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe you throw a buck or 2 on some long shots, but because starting next week, we go up to 400 per driver.
Really can start making more money. So, yeah.
Yes. Especially if you want to just throw it all on one driver.
Oh, yeah. Then you're really good.
Because we're not going to have any fluky stuff next week. Now we're going to go. No. Now we got 3, 4. After this is it. The next 4 races.
This is really,
regular
the
kind
next
of tracks.
Stuff is, it's, I think this will, like you said, this is probably the last race that potentially could be won by a non-playoff driver. The rest, I don't see it happen with Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville. And we know Phoenix isn't. You're not going to have a non-championship 4 driver win. So, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, they got to figure that out. It's embarrassing. We'll have a month or so to joke about that. That would be nice. They should come up with odds on that.
Yeah.
Because something could happen, and it has happened. It's not always.
I would rather see Phoenix odds now for that than wait till Phoenix when the 4 guys are 3-1 and the rest of the field's 20-1. I'd rather give me something better than 3-1.
Hey, I'm sure you might be able to do that. I'm sure there's some sport, but then again, if you think about it, the way it goes,
it kind of is your futures basically pick. Yeah, that's basically what it is.
So. All right. Oh, and by the way, what is Kyle's futures if he does get in? So if he wins this
he was
race,
back there this week.
35-1.
35. Yep, like a Blaney. There you go.
So
I'd be saying something 30-1 and 35-1 2 straight weeks.
If you put money on Kyle to win this week, why not put a little bit on him to win it all at 35-1?
Got to.
because
Yep.
that'll drop if he wins, and it'll drop big, especially with a name like Kyle Busch.
Yep.
All right, Eric. Next week it's another playoff
Vegas.
round.
Yep.
And we talk about Las Vegas. So we'll check out racereviewonline.net for everything else, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. So talk to you then.